קשורה בנאמנות ואחרים שמחים. Before we begin the service, I'd like to ask if your cell phone is on to either turn it off or please turn off the ringer. Thank you. We will begin the service with a recitation of a chapter of Tehillim, a chapter of Psalms. As Rabbi Rosenfeld is a Kohen, that precludes him from coming into the chapel to be able to participate. So he will recite the chapter of Tehillim from outside. Rabbi Rosenfeld. To deliver remarks, we'll begin with Arthur's grandson, Joey. Please come up and share some thoughts.
My Zadie was a very stubborn man. Even after all of Canada switched to Celsius many years ago, he refused to switch no matter what. He stuck to it. Whenever he got meat, he always made sure it was well done or nothing. His stubbornness wasn't always about, just about the temperature. He was so stubborn because he really cared about his values. He knew what they were and what he wanted. He was very stubborn about doing what was right. And most of all, he was stubborn in his belief in his family and in us. If you believed you could do something, then you could. He would help wherever he could, because that is the man who he was. He loved telling us all stories, especially the famous story where one time he went to summer camp and his mom brought him homemade cookies. And the camp tried to take away the cookies, and he thought it was a communist camp trying to take away his cookies. And he told the same story over and over again, and he loved it. And he loved telling us, no matter what age we were. When I was half your age, I drank so much more alcohol than you did. Stories is how he's able to connect to people. I think it is fitting that my Zadie passed during the weekly Torah portion of Parsha Mishpatim. This is a Torah portion which deals about laws and justice. Mishpatim teaches that the Torah and Judaism is not only about big spiritual moments. It's about living properly every single day in your daily life. The Parsha focuses on responsibility, fairness, and accountability in all your details of life. My Zadie dedicated his life to law, becoming a lawyer. He believed deeply in justice and doing things the right way. He believed all the details mattered, and you should not cut corners and not just do things because they're good enough. Mishpatim shows that a just society requires people who are committed to fairness. I think my Zadie lived with that commitment. He was principled and responsible. His life reflected the values of Mishpatim, justice, integrity, and always doing what is right. This is part of the legacy he leaves to us, to live properly, honestly, and with strength of character. My Zadie's religious commitment was steady and consistent. He never gave big speeches or long Dvar Torahs. He led by example. He lived the life he believed he should live. He always made an effort to put on tefillin and do the morning prayers. Even last week, when he was very sick in bed, he made the effort to keep putting on tefillin. He did what he could. He was very proud of how consistent he was. There's a debate in Judaism, what is the most important verse in the entire Torah? And there's an opinion that says the most important verse is in ancient times in Jerusalem, in the temple, to sacrifice one lamb in the morning and one lamb in the afternoon. And it's not about sacrificing lamb. It's about being consistent every day, in and out. And this is who Zadie was. He was always very consistent in his beliefs. Watching him do this really shaped me more than I knew. it shaped me in ways I'm only now beginning to understand. I think I'm only really where I am in my life right now because of him. He always supported me. He wanted me to be able to go learn Torah in Israel, and he kept me there. When I wanted to switch to an all-Jewish university in New York, he pushed me and supported me and was always there for me, and he was so proud of me. His commitment to everything really helped build something in front of me, and I hope to carry it forward. Zadie, I'm going to miss all the walks to shul we did together. I'm going to miss talking about history, talking about World War II especially. I'm going to miss in Pesach finding the Afikomen and bargaining with you for gifts. He was a good lawyer. He was a tough negotiator. Zadie, I know you're so proud of all of us here. And I know you're so proud of your family. It's the greatest thing you ever built, and your family will last forever. I know you believe in deeply in each one of us. Zadie, I know you're watching over us right now. You're smiling down on us, and you have faith and belief in each and every one of us. I know you're at peace now in the next world. And Gan Eden, and all your hard work in life has paid off. Zadie, thank you for the great example you set for us. We will carry your values forward forever. You'll always continue your legacy. Your lessons will stay with us. Your memory will guide us. Even when times are tough, I know you'll be beside me no matter what. Zadie, we love you so, so much, and we'll never, ever forget you.
I'd like to ask Shayna to come up, share some thoughts.
Life can only be understood backwards, but it must be lived forwards. Soren Kierkegaard, Danish theologian and philosopher. I came across this quote the other day while looking through a stack of notes my Zadie had taken while reading. This piece of paper is filled with quotations that had clearly stood out to him over time, and when I read this one, it felt especially fitting for today. My Zadie understood what it meant to live life forwards. He did so by being true to himself and never compromising the values that he held dearest to himself. No matter what life placed in front of him, he faced it with conviction and strength. He did not dwell on setbacks or look back with regret. Instead, he moved forward, steadfast, principled, and purposeful. At the core of his life was his Jewish faith, which he spoke about openly and lived with pride. As you heard from my cousin Joey, he was deeply committed to his faith, wrapping tefillin, attending synagogue, and building a strong Jewish foundation for himself and for our family. Growing up in Vancouver, where it can be easy to lose yourself in your surroundings, he never did. His Judaism shaped his identity, his sense of justice, and his understanding of what it meant to live a good and meaningful life. Central to that faith was a lifelong devotion to learning. He believed deeply in the Jewish commitment to study, to questioning, and to ethical responsibility, to the idea that we are meant to engage with the world thoughtfully, to wrestle with ideas, and to grow wiser over time. For my Zadie, learning was never confined to books or classrooms. It was a way of living. He believed curiosity was a moral obligation, that listening carefully mattered as much as speaking, and that understanding other perspectives was essential to repairing the world. His commitment to tikkun olam, to leaving the world better than he found it, was grounded in the belief that learning deepens understanding, and understanding carries responsibility. Education was something that my Zadie valued deeply. He cared that all of us were learning, growing, and thinking critically about the world around us. I remember that when I was young, he would bring me over to this globe he had in his living room and quiz me on where each country was located. This also reflected his love for traveling, as he believed that seeing the world was one of the best ways to study history. Travel, for him, was another form of learning, one that deepened his appreciation for both difference and shared humanity. Wherever he went, he carried the same openness, curiosity, and respect, always eager to learn something new. My Bubby and Zadie were married for 60 years, and there was truly never a dull moment. Their marriage was filled with laughter, love, and a deep, enduring partnership. As much as my Zadie loved to push my Bubby's buttons, their relationship was a beautiful example of what lasting love looks like, full of personality, patience, and devotion. My Bubby stood by his side through everything, especially during the difficult moments over the last 5 years. Her strength and unwavering presence are a testament to the life they built together. My Zaidi loved his family more than anything, as family was a core part of his life and his identity. He was a devoted husband, a loving father, and a very proud grandfather. Each of us shared a special bond with him. He made time for us, took a genuine interest in our lives and passions, and celebrated our accomplishments with pride. He listened closely, offered thoughtful guidance, and challenged us to think carefully and to live with intention. He believed deeply in his children and grandchildren, and he showed that belief through constant support and encouragement to all of us. I was incredibly fortunate to have my own special relationship with him. As a lawyer for over 56 years, and with me now hopefully on the path to being called to the bar later this year, we shared something unique. When I attended law school in Ontario, I tried to call my Bubby and Zaidi at least a few times a week to check in with them. My Zaidi was so excited to discuss the cases that I had learned about in class, and in case you were curious, I'm happy to report not much has changed, and they're still teaching the same cases now. Over the past few years, we developed a tradition between us. We called each other my learned friend. In the legal world, that phrase signifies professional respect and recognition of another's knowledge. When he called me that, he was reminding me that learning never ends and that knowledge carries with it an obligation to humility and kindness. By living life forwards, my Zaidi faced every hardship that life had thrown at him with koach, with strength. He refused to be defined by obstacles, and each day was treated as a new beginning, met with dignity and resolve. And now, as Kierkegaard suggests, life can only be understood backwards. Looking back, we can see the meaning of his life clearly, in the values he lived by, the family he cherished, the minds he shaped, and the countless people he impacted. His beliefs, generosity, and love of learning have shaped who I am today, and I know that I can speak for my family when I say that his presence made our lives richer. My Zaidi has left his mark on this world. This world is a better place because he was in it. He was a perfect grandfather, and I will forever be grateful for the memories that I share with him. Goodbye, my learned friend. I promise to make you proud in everything that I do. And my older sister couldn't be here today because she lives in Israel, so my younger sister Talia is gonna write a letter that she wrote him on Eliana's behalf. So.
So, like Shayna said, I'll be reading this on behalf of Eliana, who couldn't be here today. So these are all her words. I originally wrote this letter just for him 1 month ago, and I intended to keep it within our family. But when I shared it with him, we read it together. We talked about it. We laughed, we cried, we remembered. And in those moments, it became clear that these words captured something deeper than a private exchange. They reflected who he was to so many of us. So today, I want to read it, not only in his memory, but so that you can feel connected to him in the way that I was through these words. Zaidi, I wanted to read it to you again one last time. Dear Zaidi, I've spent a long time thinking about how to write this, because it is not the sort of letter one writes for a particular moment. It is not a farewell, nor is it meant to be read with any urgency. It is simply something I wanted you to have, now, later, or whenever you feel inclined to return it. You've been a formative presence in my life for as long as I can remember. In many ways, you were a father figure to me, not only through what you did, but through who you are. Sharp, disciplined, intellectually rigorous, deeply serious about the things that matter, and always learning. You carried yourself with gravity, yet never without wit. A well-timed, understated remark was often enough to remind everyone that you saw more than you let on. We did not always agree, but we always understood one another. We are cut from the same cloth, demanding, exacting, and willing to compromise on standards. That expectation of excellence is woven into the fabric of our family, and it exists because of you. You taught us that achievement is not accidental. It is cultivated, nurtured, and expected, and that ethos defines us. I have always admired the way you engage with life, your devotion to learning, your reverence for tradition, your commitment to values passed down through generations and carefully upheld. You have lived with a clear moral compass, encouraging those around you to pursue lives of wisdom, dignity, and purpose. You never merely spoke of those principles, you embodied them. You have a way of anchoring a room, most often from the head of the table, with a remark so quiet it might slip past at first, yet thoughtful enough to linger. You are deeply loved. not just by our family, but by the many people whose lives you shaped along the way. The steady stream of visitors through your home says it all. Your capacity to take in Alan and care for him as your own is something I will always hold in the highest regard. You are in the truest sense a man of God. Life, of course, is finite, even when part of us insists otherwise. My instinct still imagines you, Bobby, and my parents present for every chapter of my life. I know that belief is naive, but it has shaped the way I think about continuity and legacy. The values we've been given, grounded in faith, resilience, and a deep pride in being Jewish in an often unforgiving world. I believe in miracles, and I believe you will be present for my next chapter. But I also believe in honesty. Time is not promised to any of us, and I wanted you to know what lies ahead, simply because it matters deeply to me that you do. I have built the life I once envisioned for myself, and I know with absolute certainty that it exists because of you. We are not a family that relies on sentiment alone. Trust, but verify. Always. Everything I have built is rooted in what you modeled for us, what you provided, and what you protected. Your values are so deeply embedded in who I am that they feel inseparable from my sense of self, and for that I am endlessly grateful. I love our family. You love our family. We are a unit, and I am profoundly thankful for the life we have shared and the foundation you created. I do not want this to read as overly sentimental. You know that restraint is part of my nature, and I intend to keep my Lipetz armor intact. But I wanted these words to exist, should I ever lack the opportunity to say them aloud, and that, quite simply, would be unacceptable. As I said, this is not a goodbye letter. It is merely a record of my thoughts, something that you can return to over the many years we still hope to share. A reminder of me, especially now that distance makes it harder to simply appear at your door. Even so, I cherish the way we have adapted, and I know we carry one another in our thoughts more often than either of us needs to say. With all my love, Ellie. May your memory be a blessing.
Thank you to the grandchildren for that beautiful tribute. Now call on Tammy to share her thoughts.
That's a really hard act to follow. If I had to choose two words to describe my father, they would be resilience and legacy. My whole life, people have told me that I am my father's daughter. For a long time, I thought that meant the obvious things. He loved books and travel. He was deeply curious about the world. He was devoted to his family, committed to tradition, and had a sense of humor that could lighten even the hardest moments. Those were the qualities people noticed first and the ones I thought defined him. But over time, I came to understand that beneath all of that was something deeper. My father was resilient. I came to understand that resilience most clearly later in life, not because it changed who he was, because it revealed who he had always been. He met difficult moments with quiet strength, not with drama or fear, but with steadiness and resolve. Even then, his instinct was always to protect those around him, to reassure, and to keep moving forward. His strength was never something he announced, it was simply how he lived. The same quiet resilience shaped the way he moved through the world long before. People trusted him instinctively. They came to him not only for legal advice, but for guidance about life. He listened carefully, spoke thoughtfully, and never took that trust lightly. He was deeply connected to his community and carried that responsibility with humility. In the days towards the end of his life, the depth of his impact became impossible to miss, not because of what he was facing, but because of what he had built. People came constantly just to sit with him, to check in on him, to say thank you. Friends, family, and members of the community showed up again and again. The Reisman family even traveled to New York just to spend one day with him. Their presence reflected the kind of relationships he built, real, long-lasting, and rooted in care. So much of what he did for others was never meant to be known. He helped quietly, he gave in secret, he supported people without recognition. He believed that doing the right thing didn't require an audience, and yet everybody seemed to know exactly who he was because his actions spoke for him. Over time, that resilience became his legacy. Because legacy isn't built in one moment or one achievement, it is built through thousands of small, consistent choices. One of the clearest expressions of my father's legacy was how he chose to live openly, proudly, and unapologetically as an Orthodox Jew in Vancouver, where that was not always the easy or common path. He understood that standing out is often harder than blending in, and he chose it anyway. Every single day. Shabbat, prayer, community, and tradition were not simply practices for him, they were the foundation of his life. Sitting at the Shabbat table with him was an experience. Stories were shared, laughter filled the room, family and friends gathered together. Those moments were not just rituals, they were lessons. Lessons in connection, joy, faith, and belonging. He loved his family deeply. His children and grandchildren were his pride and joy. He passed down not only tradition but love for Judaism, love for learning, and a deep love for Israel. He spoke to his grandchildren about Israel with pride and excitement, helping them feel connected to something far greater than themselves. In doing so, he ignited a spark, one that will continue to ripple outward through the generations. He was endlessly curious. He loved learning, reading, traveling, and understanding the world. But more than knowledge, he taught humility. The understanding that there was always more to learn and that curiosity is a lifelong pursuit. And no matter the situation, there was always a lesson to be found. Nothing was ever just an event. He had a way of helping us see meaning, values, and responsibility in everything life handed us. That is his legacy, not only in what he built, but in how he lived. As Pirkei Avot teaches us, we are links in a chain. My father strengthened the link he was given, and because of him, that chain is stronger. And now it is our responsibility to carry his legacy forward, to keep that spark alive, and to pass it on with the same intentions, pride, and love. There are so many people who are part of this journey, and we owe deep gratitude. To Suzette and June, thank you for showing up every day and caring not only for our father, but our mother as well. You will always be a special part of our family. To our cousin Danny, thank you for being such a constant source of support to all of us, even when we didn't know we needed it. Our father was so fond of you. To Dr. Barrett Benny, Barrett and my father met 63 years ago at Hillel House at UBC, and the rest is history. Barrett has been the most kind, compassionate, intelligent, and loyal friend anyone could ever hope for. He stood by my father every step of the way, supported my mother, and guided us when we wanted to be sure we were doing the right thing. He never failed to show up, even through the last moments. Barrett, we'll never forget the role you played in our father's life. And we know how deeply he loved you and cherished your conversations, and we are eternally grateful and forever connected. And to our mother, your strength is beyond compare. You cared for Dad with patience, devotion, and unwavering love. You are truly a Nesha Chaya. Please know that we are all here to support you and Sarah in this next chapter with the same love and devotion that you gave to Dad. And as you keep reminding me, we're going to be okay. And finally, to our father, thank you. We will miss you. And we promise to continue to make you proud. May your memory be a blessing.
Thank you all for those beautiful words. When the theme repeats itself again and again, know that it's absolutely true. We stand here today with heavy hearts to say farewell to Aaron Aryeh ben Yosef, our dear Arthur Lipetz, a devoted husband, father and grandfather, brother, uncle, and cherished friend. A man whose presence was steady, whose convictions were firm, and whose life was lived with purpose and integrity. You know what I mean? The repetition of the same words again and again. Before I begin my words, I want to share that much of what I will say today is conveyed on behalf of Rabbi Weinberg. Over the past several days, I've been in close communication with him, and it is exceptionally painful for him and Henya that they could not accompany Arthur on his final journey. Over the years, and especially during the difficult period of Arthur's illness, they became deeply close. The bond was one of genuine friendship, shared conviction, and mutual respect. My remarks today reflect not only my own thoughts, but very much theirs as well. Arthur, as we heard, was a man of two great loves. First and foremost, his family. His beloved wife, Nadine, his partner in life for more than 60 years. A marriage built on loyalty, shared values, and quiet devotion. His children, Tammy and Jim, David and Ahava, and Sarah. His grandchildren, Eliana, Shana, Talia, Atara, Joey, and Ariel, who were his greatest nachas. The living continuation of everything he believed in. His brother Harry and his family, and the whole Sinclair family. He had a special place in his heart, and a great respect for his father-in-law, Reuben Sinclair of blessed memory, and the wide circle of relatives and friends who were part of his world. Arthur spoke in his final days about how blessed he felt. We are all winners, he said, referring to his family. He loved life, he loved his life, he loved his family, and he was deeply proud of the Jewish legacy he and Nadine built. Grandchildren growing proudly as committed Jews, learning Torah, attending yeshiva, working hard in their professional education, some already beginning their careers, lives rooted in tradition and guided by values. Arthur's second great love was his Judaism and his God. At moments of both joy and sorrow, we turn to the Torah, especially the Torah portion of the week, for meaning and perspective. As Joey mentioned, this past Shabbat, we read Parshat Mishpatim. Mishpatim means laws, civil laws, dealing with business, ethics, employment, damages, and responsibility between people. Law was Arthur's passion. He practiced it with integrity, seriousness, and respect, and he practiced it well. Remarkably, this section of civil law in the Torah follows immediately after the thunder and revelation of Mount Sinai, after the giving of the 10 Commandments, including the commandment to observe Shabbat. Why does it follow so closely on the 10 Commandments? The message is clear. God is saying, don't leave holiness on the mountain. Show me what you believe through how you conduct business, how you treat others, how you handle conflict, how you live your daily life. Bring holiness into the office, the home, the street, and every interaction. That message, I believe, captures the life of Arthur Lipetz. Arthur loved Vancouver. This is where he grew up, was educated, met and married Nadine, raised a family, and practiced law. And yet, if you saw him walking to shul on a Shabbos morning, rain or shine, with his black hat, soft white beard, steady and purposeful stride, you might have thought that he had wandered off a street in Brooklyn or Jerusalem and somehow landed here by mistake. He was unapologetically and deeply observant. He davened every day, he studied Torah, he kept Shabbat and kosher and all the mitzvot meticulously, a fruma yid in every sense. Though he lived far from the Lubavitch Center at 41st and Oak, he was always there for the minyan. For many years, I think over 30 years, he served as the gabbai, a role he treated not as a technical task, but as a sacred responsibility. His home was always open. On Rosh Hashanah during Tashlich, he welcomed everyone warmly, and he made sure there were living fish in the pond, because that was the custom. Arthur was always striving to enhance his Yiddishkeit, even adopting Hasidic dress, the hat, the beard, the bekeshe, which he wore proudly at home. Much of this was nurtured through his close relationship with the illustrious Rabbi Menashe Klein, the Ungvaradov, who inspired him deeply in matters of tradition and observance. Many people making the choices Arthur and Nadine made might have uprooted their family and moved to a more traditional Jewish city. That would have been understandable, perhaps even easier. But Arthur believed firmly and confidently that they could raise a strong, observant Jewish family right here in Vancouver. And they did. In that sense, Arthur was the Shabbat of Vancouver, infusing holiness into the city through his family life, his professional life, and his quiet and unwavering example. The Mishnah in Pirkei Avos teaches, Lo hamedrash ikar ela hamaisa, not study is the main thing, but action. Arthur lived this teaching fully. His Judaism was not theoretical. It was lived, embodied, practiced every single day with consistency and integrity. Do you hear the recurring themes again? Arthur was a man of principle. He did not worry much about what others thought. Well, except, of course, for one person, Nadine. Arthur had strong opinions about law, about Judaism, about how things should be done, but when it came to Nadine, he mastered a rare and holy skill, selective flexibility. He walked to his own beat, stayed true to tradition, and lived with conviction. He loved Vancouver, but he went to Israel and to New York to recharge his batteries for the Jewish atmosphere, the people, the holiness, and of course the food. No trip to Brooklyn was complete without at least one visit to Amnon's Pizza. Arthur's generosity extended quietly beyond his own life in ways many never knew. To share just one example, when the Lubavitch Center began Torah on the telephone program in the 80s, the technology was expensive and cumbersome. Rabbi Dubrovsky Olav Shalom approached Arthur in his office, and Arthur immediately provided all the necessary funding. Thousands upon thousands of hours of Torah learning were made accessible because of his quiet generosity. Who is honored? Asked the sages of the Mishnah. Who is honored? One who honors others. Arthur honored people through his presence, his support, and his humility. He was highly intelligent, widely read, and endlessly curious, from politics to books, from music to quirky subjects such as how refrigeration works or how salt is made. He loved conversation, remembered details, valued tradition, and possessed a deep will to live. As a husband, father, and grandfather, he was devoted beyond measure. He sowed with tears, but reaped with joy. He merited to see his grandchildren coming into their own, charting their own paths, one even choosing to follow him into the world of law. In his final days, there was a constant stream of visitors, a testament to how deeply he touched the lives of others. Arthur Lipetz lived a life of meaning, faith, and integrity. His legacy lives on in his children, Tammy and Jim, David and Ahava and Sarah, in his grandchildren, and in the quiet holiness he brought to this world in our community and into the city. Yehi Zichrei Baruch. May his memory be for a blessing. May his soul be bound up in the bond of eternal life. And let us say, Amen. Please rise for the Kel Malei Rachamim, the memorial prayer. El Malei Rachamim, Shoichein Bamroimim, Hamtzei Menucha Nechaina, Al Kanfei HaShechina, B'malois Kedoshim U'Tohirim, Kezoyar Horokia Mazirim, Es Nishmas Aaron Aryeh Ben Yosef, Sholach Li'olamai, Bavur Shanachnu Mispalalim Biados Koras Nishmasai, Biganei Dentei Menuchasai, Lochein Ba'al Rachamim Yastideu B'Seiser Knafav Li'olamim V'yitzror B'yitzror Achayim Es Nishmasai Adonai Hu Nachalasai V'yanuach B'Shalom Al Mishkavai V'noimar Amen. Please be seated for a moment. Shiva services will take place at Arthur and Nadine's home, 1590 West 47th. Services will be tonight through Thursday evening at 5:15 p.m. and visiting hours are until 8 p.m. every evening. Morning services, being tomorrow, Monday through Friday, will be at 8:30 p.m. I'm sorry, 8:30 a.m. This time I'd like to call on the pallbearers, Jim, Arthur's son-in-law Jim, his nephew Danny, his grandchildren Joey and Ariel, Dr. Barrett Benny, and a good friend Ian Holt. I'd like to call on the honorary pallbearers, his brother Harry Lipetz and brother-in-law Len Sinclair. I'd like to ask everyone to please follow behind the casket as we escort Arthur on his final journey. For those that need, there is a golf cart outside the building to take you to the gravesite. We're just past the Holocaust Memorial, so it's a little bit of a walk.